Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukatali.
And a jolly good morning to you. This is Newsline, live as always from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo and broadcasting on TV1. Actually, we broadcast Newsline every weekday, Monday to Friday, from 7 to 7:30, and it's also available on the World Wide Web at www.tv1.lk. Press the live button. And this morning, joining us after several weeks of not seeing him is Mr. Keithy Tennecoon. Very good morning to you,
Very
Keithy.
good morning, Faraz.
Nice to see you here.
Pleasure.
And Keithy, what's going on? It's very quickly, can you tell me what are the main points of contention, corruption or otherwise, in this government? But you need to be able to say it like that.
Basically, everyone is talking about the May Day rally and the political myth about the gathering people around and all that.
Yeah.
In that sense, I mean, we have seen that the corruption allegations coming on this government has sidelined to an extent.
Yeah.
Number one, the major issue is with the Power and Energy Ministry. The other things is the agreements now negotiating with the India and China, and almost all the BOI agreements or the discussions had with the BOI from the private sector has sidelined. There's a tug of war between the BOI and the ministry at the moment, and no one is so sure about what is exactly happening with this government's financial policy. In the other hand, we don't see very concrete decisions are made on investments.
Do they actually have a financial policy?
That is one of the issues, because so many parallel ministries and the ministers are coming up with various statements time to time, and in the other hand, the experts, the ministry officials and the other, for example, the Treasury and the Ministry of Finance is coming up with a totally different picture and viewpoints on these very important issues related to the finance. So state of finance is very tricky.
It sounds as though, from what you're saying, that this unity government didn't sit down and decide that on these matters, this is what we're going to say and do, so that there's no trouble or palpitations at the end, where because they haven't discussed it, they say, oh, no, you can't do it like this, we want it done like this. And they say, no, we want it done like that.
For the sixth consecutive week, we saw some fireworks inside the cabinet. So continuous fireworks happening inside the cabinet is telling you something. They are not doing their homework very well. So if you have to consult, when you are looking for an agreement or a negotiation for that matter, making a policy paper, it needs so much of professional work. Is that professionalism is coming into act in this particular government? I say these fireworks, disagreements coming inside the cabinet and outside the cabinet, and the political dialogue is showing us one concrete thing. It's that professionalism for work is not taking place when it comes to the finance and economy.
Now then, professionalism seems to be out of the window. I noticed recently that they are talking about taking on temporary power to overcome various matters, and the fact that there's not much hydro. Now then, I think it was mentioned that 36 rupees for a unit. Now, on what basis, on what rationale, what is the basis? And who sets this 36 rupees?
It's Batakoda and nothing else. When it comes to the power purchase or energy purchasing at the moment, it is not the CEB, it is the engineers union of the CEB and Batakoda playing the role. So here,
what that is outside of the methodology that exists, is it?
There's no methodology whatsoever with the Power and Energy Ministry at the moment.
So
and on the other hand, the CEB is having a huge crisis when it comes to the, I mean, if you go through the resignation letter of the CEB chairman, it very clearly shows that what Mr. Rajitha Senaratne said. A trade union trying to determine the national policy in the sector of power and energy. How far we can go like this? We know there's a power mafia, diesel mafia inside the CEB, and that has paid a huge cost to the Sri Lankan economy. This has happened the Anuruddha Ratwate's time, it has happened with the Champika Ranawaka's time, and he was trying to struggle, he struggled with that, he fought against that, but he finally lost his portfolio. In the other hand, during the Ranjit Siambalapitiya era, we have seen that mafia has demonstrating the whole thing, and it has final burden, is having unbelievable burden on Sri Lankan economy. And Batagoda is the deciding man on this. I mean, the basic failure of the CEB is that they didn't have a long-term plan to generate power.
They say they have a long-term generation.
No, we haven't seen it. Yeah. They have come up with the Saharanpur power plant, and they had the various issues related to that. So they have abandoned the government make a policy decision not to go with that. So that's fine. But where are the alternatives? So the only thing what they are doing at the moment, getting the power from the private sector at a very high price, unbelievably high price, which is very much making a profit venture for the diesel mafia.
But who actually sets the price? This 36 rupees.
This is something we were asking for last 3 days. And it seems like we don't have any concrete answer. It is the engineers union plus the secretary, Mr. Batagoda, nothing else.
Nothing else, no one else.
No one else, nothing else, yes. And that was the pattern when you go into the power and ministry, when it comes to the deciding of many decisions, including Lanka Coal Company issue.
The Honorable Vijaypala, the chairman of the CB who resigned,
yes,
he struck us as being a pretty straight bat, not frightened to answer questions. He came on several media programs, and when we asked him, he said that he can't possibly, he said he knows how to handle the trade unions, but he said that
he cannot handle Batagoda. That's the issue, and that's the reason.
He actually said the ministry. He said the ministry. He was being polite, dear Mr. Vijaypala, but do you know, this name Batagoda is becoming a real sort of busy bee, because the name always comes up. So why is it? How come he's allowed to carry on?
If you ask me that question in a different way, what is the uttermost failure in this particular government? I will say Ministry of Power and Energy. It continuously happens. It has uttermost corrupt practices when it comes to power purchasing, and when it comes to policy making, and they don't have long-term policy for that matter, power generation.
But Casey, isn't it true that they don't seem to have long-term policies for anything? All these policies seem to be designed to hang on to power now and maximize all the deals that can be given to friends and cronies.
That's the issue. I mean, when this good governance government came into power, everyone thought that the LNG might be the way out of this crisis. And everyone, the professionals agreed on that. And then based on that, there were new bids were called, and there were so many negotiations were taken place with different companies. And we knew that according to the BOI, there's 3,750 plus US dollar millions of those, I mean, the companies were ready to invest on this. The price per unit cost is something like 12 rupees for if you are going for the LNG. But here, now, the Batagoda and Company is purchasing power at a price of 36 rupees per unit.
It's almost criminal.
It's a crime. It's a crime. It's unbelievable that the president, who's listening to very carefully and making decisions carefully when it comes to the serious corruption allegations, and not looked into this matter of power and power ministry.
But, you know, the 36 rupees sounds absolutely criminal, because I think the top price you pay per unit is about 24 rupees.
No, it's wrong. I mean, now they are purchasing the power at the price of 32 rupees plus from the Kerala PTA.
How much are they selling it for?
It's 17 rupees in average,
right?
Basically.
And so I think commercial is about 24.
That's right.
The flat rate.
No, the average price per unit in Sri Lanka is 17 rupees.
Right.
So whatever the price you purchase from the private sector and reselling it to the consumers is a loss.
Right. So you must, unless you can do it for less than 17.
Definitely yes. And if
Norichole, the cost of Norichole per unit is around 6 or 7 rupees.
For us,
yeah,
the calculation they have done on Norochole is not accurate. And we were continuously talking about this. Now they have shown that the power calculation, per unit calculation on Norochole is done with just on the coal imports, and the price the spend on the coal imports divided per unit.
What is it not doing?
So what they are not doing is that all the other expenses done by the CEB is not calculated.
You mean like the roads, the network?
And the salaries and the maintenance and all that he's not gone into. And this is now the auditors has done on their part of the duty, and that has finally made a result that as Mr. Anurag Vijaypala very correctly said, the engineers union want now the internal audit department of the CEB to take into the hands of the GM.
That's right.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Where is the very basic principles of the good governance?
And that is exactly what Mr. Vijaypala said, that he knows how to handle the trade unions, but when the ministry orders him to list the auditor and to bring the auditor, the chief internal auditor, under the aegis of the general manager, the entire purpose of having a chief internal auditor is lost.
For us, one thing Mr. Anurag Vijaypala has not clearly mentioned in his letter is that it is the minister and the secretary Batagoda is pressuring him, and that has cost his job, I will say. The issue, even though there's so much of criticism on Vijaypala for such a long time by the organizations like us, we salute him. I mean, he did his job even under tremendous pressure from the political pressure and the administration pressure during this period, but here he has gone out of control.
Actually, Mr. Vijaypala should be hailed, and we should celebrate his work, because it's very rare to have somebody serving in such a position to be so transparent and open as Anurag Vijaypala was. Well done, but I'm sure that the CEB could actually do with people like Mr. Vijaypala, and poor show on behalf of the minister to have accepted his resignation.
It's very unlikely. Now they get rid of the troublemaker Maitri Gunaratne from the Lanka coal company, and that has lost during the 2.5 months 1,950 million
after his
within 90 days, less than 90 days, I'll say. So it's amazing the cost which I mean the Sri Lankan taxpayers had paid more than 20,000 million on the purchase of the generators, which is one of the most corrupt deals ever you can think of under this sort of a so-called good governance government. So everyone knows now the power is purchasing at the price of 36 now, instead of 17, maybe, I mean, less than 15 for that matter, if they have open tenders were called on LNG. So this is a daylight robbery. This is a crime. So the politicians allowing this crime to happen continuously, and I don't know, the government call for good governance, ask for good governance, promise for good governance, is behaving like this. This is a crime.
Are there no provisions in any laws in our country to lock these people up, put them behind bars?
The issue,
why can't we lock them up? Why can't we take
Auditor General has very clearly said continuously the corrupt deals which is happening with the CEB, and no one listens. And when it comes to when it goes to the parliament, parliamentarians always back and fires Aegis department. Unbelievable.
Do these items appear in newspapers?
Definitely yes, and all the Aegis department, the Attorney General's department reports were published, well published, and it has gone into the papers, and I am so sure that the President might have read those.
Really? But why is it that continuously, not only in this sector, but why is it continuously that the politicians show a complete apathy towards what is affecting the people? I mean, are they deaf and blind? What's going on? Why?
No, I think the problem what this government is having, when you look into the issue of treasury bond and when you look into the power crisis now, is that the arrogance of the politicians, especially it is coming from the part of the very senior politicians, including the Prime Minister and some selected ministers, is the key issue. Everyone was criticizing the proposed agreement with the Chinese on Hambantota Harbour. Are they ready to listen to the people? About this item issue, no one is caring about what is happening these days. There's a threat of a general strike based on this, which might affect tomorrow the whole country. And is anyone taking action? Is anyone listening for that matter? About the ongoing Trincomalee oil tank issue, the negotiations with Indians are fine, but here, where are they transparent?
Okay, but whilst all this is going on, there are people in the Salawa area, there are people in the Meetotamul area, and there are people in the former conflict areas, there are people in the Putlam area, there are people in the eastern province,
everywhere,
all, and in the southern province. So from north to south, east to west, everywhere, people need housing. We've only got one minister, Sajid Premadasa, who's doing what he can, but we need a concerted national effort to put this housing, to provide houses for the homeless. But instead of that, we just see deal after deal after deal after deal. What is the problem? Are these people all suffering from Asperger's syndrome?
That's one conclusion what we can come into when you look into the serious allegations coming on this present government at the moment. But here, to be fair to some other very productive approaches taken by some of the ministers, I'll say, for us, I mean, these allegations are coming on less than 9 ministers at the moment. So the mess what they are creating is unbelievable. The issue when it comes to the Hambantota, the present government under the good governance government, they call for new tenders, bids for the land to given out for various industries. So that the 1 hectare, they have estimated, they have calculated, and they have made some agreements. They have made allocations to get more than $100,000 per acre. Why these companies are not given land? Just because they cannot start their work. So the issue, trade deficit and all that could be sorted out in a different way. There must be a different approaches.
The Hambantota Port deal for 99 years for $1.2 billion if you were to break it down at current exchange rates to per day, it works out at 5 million rupees per day.
Per day, yeah, that's right.
But I put it to you, Kirti, that there are corporates in this country who are involved in that kind of maritime business, who can surely do a business where they can raise the 5 million rupees
per day,
plus many times more per day.
This is something experts, the professionals are highlighting continuously. That is one of the issues now which has gone to the courts with Gunaruan and our good friend Gunaruan and some other very senior lawyers are arguing at the moment. In the other hand, this port deal is uttermost corrupt. Number one, it has negotiated by the people who do not hold office, proper office, legitimate office for that matter, and no one knows what are the conditions, and it was not openly called for tenders and all that. This general procurement policies are not implemented. If they want to give it to the China, do it in a proper way, do it in a transparent way. But all the hidden agendas are the downfall when it comes to the Hambantota port deal.
But why is something, if in the previous government, if they had done this sort of thing, the previous government, and I'm sure they must have, or they may have.
Definitely they have, yes.
Now, if it was then highlighted by the opposition then, now it is that opposition who is now in power. How come they are doing the same thing?
The issue, earlier when Mahinda Rajapaksa's regime was doing the same thing, there's so much of opposition came openly by the civil society. The issue, what they have promised is the civil society's agenda.
Yeah.
Now, in one hand, we don't see that civil society is putting this particular government enough pressure to avoid these sort of corrupt deals. That is one of the downfalls of this government.
Yes, why is that? Is that, do you think, because civil society has a perception that this government, or that the UNP government, are not corrupt?
Everyone knows what is, I mean, if they knew what a Rajapaksa regime has done and how corrupt they are, I am so sure that so-called civil society is known what is happening in the country. But still, unbelievably, they are very much attached to the temple trees these days. And that has becoming an issue that even the politicians are not representing the people, and the civil society is getting away from the people which they should represent.
All very worrying, isn't it?
Definitely.
Now, can you tell me, what do you make out of all these crowds at the May Day rallies? Now, some of them have come. A lot of them have been brought.
Definitely, yes.
And do these politicians really think that that is the end of the matter?
This is very interesting, and if you follow three main rallies, one with Campbell Park, with Golface, and which one is on the Gatambi, and even except this JVP rally, we didn't see any politicians talking about corruption. Corruption is one of the major factors. Each and every day, everyone is talking on the buses, public places, offices, and etc. No one is talking about corruption. No one is talking openly about corruption. We haven't seen that the concrete evidence or try to pursue the public on, I mean, we should get rid of the corruption and all that issues. So we know that Rajapaksa regime is corrupt, so corrupt that now at a moment they are not capable of attacking credibly on the UNP corruption which is now taking place.
But some people came because they wanted to come. A lot of people came because they were brought in.
Definitely, yes.
But shouldn't the politicians remember that there were a lot of people who didn't come and who weren't brought in? and they're watching, and because they've got something called a vote card.
We don't have the elections, and that is becoming one of the issues. I mean, to be fair to Mahinda Rajapaksa, whatever they have done during their period of time, they continuously had elections. So it has becoming, I mean, they have tested, I mean, with using the force, using the abusing of the powers, abusing of state resources and all that. They went for the people, they tested themselves to some extent. But here we are having an environment which we are having the situation where this government is not ready to hold elections. So how can they test the mindset of the people? How can, the other hand, how the people can show that the people are unhappy and their frustrations cannot be seen? So this is very disturbing, because the people might look into other ways of showing their disagreement with this particular government.
But what should the people do, apart from being mindful of the March the 12th declaration and so on? What should the people do?
I think, I mean, new set of people, especially young generation, is very openly criticizing the ways and means, behavior of this particular government, especially using the new media, Facebook, social media, etc. Yeah. And new voices are coming on, which is very good, I'll say. We have seen so many youth is writing to the papers. Now new leaders are coming on, which is very much hopeful for the future.
So, is it almost a coincidence, but following on the heels of a very rather well-attended May Day rallies for everybody?
Yes.
Is it a coincidence that just a day or two later we have notice in the newspapers that Nama Rajapaksa and 4 others are being told to come before the High Court? Is that just coincidence? Is it politics? What is it?
I think when it comes to the investigations and filing cases against the most corrupt people during the Rajapaksa regime time, this has become a talk show, just eyewash, nothing else.
Because it's laughable.
It's laughable, yes.
Because all this time it seems to be on the back burner. Then the minute you have they do something prominent, they get hit here.
The issue, this is becoming a laughter just because we have seen during the last 3 weeks, the financing, the resources to the FCID is slashed.
That's right. And
it's becoming unoperatable. So when in one hand, FCID is becoming unoperatable with resources, lack of resources, and cutting down the resources by the Prime Minister's office, nothing else, and talking about this.
And also taking away some of the investigations and asking them to send it to the National Procurement Commission, backdated. That sounds a bit dodgy.
And more frustrating, the FCID is now asked to hand over some of the investigations to the regional police stations, which they cannot do. Obviously.
So soon the FCID will be disbanded, probably, and probably replaced with something called the Serious Frauds Office. Well, we await with great interest, but Kirti Chanakon, it's been an eventful morning. So thank you very much for being on Newsline.
It's a pleasure for us, as usual.
And we'll go and do our little number for the morning fix on Yes FM, shall we? In the meantime, thank you for watching Newsline. We're here every day from Monday to Friday, 7 to 7:30, helping you to stay connected. And that's it on May 4th, 2017 from Newsline. Take care. God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukut Ali.